It's impossible to look at these Euros without reflecting on that amazing time 25 years ago, Euro 96. In the build-up to these Euros, I've kind of gone back 25 years with two guys who are really strong memories. We got one up front and another one at the back. The captain they all looked to. I didn't realise, Tony, how much earlier than 96 you'd made your debut for England. You'd been in the picture and then was out the picture and then back in it. So what was the story there?
Yeah, I did play very early. We'd won the Littlewoods Cup, I think, that year as well. It was a very good year, 87 for Arsenal and me personally. Broke into the team. Kenny Sampson was captain at the time. You know, I had Viv Anderson's an unbelievable right back for the club, 2 European trophies with Nottingham Forest, and Big Butch alongside. And I had a horrific tournament in '88, and the tournament was both on and off the pitch really, I think, damaging in a lot of respects. You know, I won Fiat Uno Young Player of the Year, so I'd gone from having a fantastic Littlewoods Cup, beating Liverpool and making my debut, to then go into a year later into the 88 and be blamed. In effect, I was so young, you know, 22 years of age, you know, playing against the Marco van Basten, probably the greatest player at that time on the planet, and you know, and getting turned inside out for a couple of goals, and it's like all the blame was coming towards me. But I was so, what's the word, after the rejection and the hurt of 88, and personally, I'll give you one story where I did, you know, my alcoholism alongside that. You know, I was a frightened little boy off the pitch, no tools, and every time I drank alcohol, I usually weed myself. So I remember, you know, having a good drink after we went out of the tournament, and we in the bed, and I remember the chambermaid going down and finding my bed. But when I went in for breakfast to the squad, all the lads and everyone stood up and they're going pee 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 pee. The humiliation and the shame of that was, I laughed it on. I put the front up, you know, it was part of the kind of machoism kind of building product, but inside that really did hurt. That really killed me. I was so sensitive. Off the pitch, you know, my drinking career and my football career was going side by side. So every kind of holiday period I was getting smashed, and my drinking wasn't 2 glasses of wine, you know, it was getting smashed. It was going side by side my football career. So I think, you know, I won the league in 89 and I won the league in 91, and that team 91 squad of Arsenal was phenomenal. We should have done better. Gazza stopped us doing the double that year. We lost 1 game and I was in prison, you know. So you can see just by that statement, I was in prison. There was a guy that was struggling with his addiction, and I think there was an element, it's why I didn't go to 1990.
So what was it like watching that semi-final then, the 1990? What was that?
I was smashed. I was in a social club in just round by where I lived in Rainham, drinking and getting smashed.
And were you emotionally engaged in the game though? Gazza's tears?
I don't think I knew emotion at that point. I was completely oblivious to it all.
Okay.
I was like completely oblivious.
So you couldn't be further away in a sense from England, having played for them 2 years earlier.
Correct.
And 6 years on.
Correct.
Where are you in terms of your health, mental and physical,
Well,
in the build-up to Euro 96?
I think it's just, you know, it's a progressive illness, alcoholism for me, and it took its toll, and there was certain events that made it spiral. I think George's resignation in 94, when I've not got a boss in effect, spiraled again, you know. I think it's really interesting that we won the league in 91 with Arsenal, and we didn't win the league again until I got clean and sober in 98. So I could get up, you know, there'd been long periods of abstinence, you know, when I'm totally focused on my job. But I picked up my first drink at 17, 83, and by 93, you know, last 3-4 years of my drinking, I was kind of out of control.
What about in Hong Kong? Were you white knuckling? Were you off it?
Correct.
In the time when you were in Hong Kong?
96 was a monumental year, you know, of my life. You know, personally, privately and professionally, really. Yeah. But there was a little boy that kind of was going, hold on, game's up here a minute. I keep getting smashed. I keep having blackouts. I've been to prison. You know, I've been to the intensive care. It stopped being fun. The consequences were mounting up. In the February, I dangled my leg in training. In the March, I pass out. Supposed to be looking after my 3 kids. I pass out on one Sunday afternoon, drunk 6-7 bottles of Chablis and pass out, and my mother-in-law smacking me around the face, takes the kids off me. And then in the April, I've kind of come to the place where I knew something was up. But there was something about that tournament, and I kind of went, right, okay, I'd stayed not drinking through football, so I'm thinking, all I'm going to do is train, play. I'm going to do this. And we flew to Hong Kong, and don't forget, I've got this mask on, I've got this wall of denial, I've got this macho, hey, I'm the skipper, I'm the captain. So when they kind of said to me, would you want to go down to that club with the dentist chair and all that, I said, oh no, when we win it, I'll have a good drink when we win it, but go on, you go and have fun. And I was just scared to death. I was just absolutely, because I knew at that point, Adrian, if I had the first drink, I didn't know, I couldn't stop. And I knew somewhere deep inside of me, I had no tools to stop. You know, I knew that there was no tournament for me. You know, I was completely off the planet, off the wall.
It feels incredibly intense. I mean, it's intense for everybody, but for you personally, you're dry, you're focusing everything in on it.
Yeah.
So, Switzerland then?
You know, the paradox of all this, you know, is the most proudest moment of my life, you know, leading out my country at Wembley, Euro Championships, but personally a complete and utter wreck. You know, it's such a conflict going on, and it was intense, and I was, you know, if you saw any interviews around that time, I'm stiff as a bug, you know, I'm so pent up with stuff, and it was so important not to lose that first game. You know, if you lose the first one, you're up against it. You know, even if you make a point and kick on, you get it under your belt, you taste the atmosphere, you know what it's going to be like, you're in the competition, you know, it's alive. So as long as, like you say, you don't use that first one. So we pretty much went tick on with the next. Yeah. You know, that's what we did.
So, I mean, it's so interesting, because I interviewed the man Cloughy used to call Edward Sheringham yesterday, and I asked him a straight question about who were the most influential figures in that team? Who was the key to it? Right, have a listen to what he said.
He was our main man. He was our captain. He was our leader. He had that way of bringing people in. You know, if someone was sitting over there, come over here, come and join in. You know, don't be over there. This is our team. You know, and he had that way. So anything that around Euro '96 and Tony Adams isn't involved in doesn't work right for me. Doesn't sit right, because he was our leader. And that's how I think everyone looked up to him.
Why are you surprised?
Because I don't know. I didn't know. I met him before. I didn't know he felt that way about you. You know, he said, "Send him my love." Really, I mean that. But now I'm hearing you say what a state you were in. So you're doing that. You're being the leader, and you're almost the fulcrum of the whole operation. And yet you're in a terrible state.
Yeah, but football was the place I was comfortable in. So that was all my energies, all my thoughts, all my emotions, whatever was going on was in the England team. It was concentrating on him. You know, I'd won 2 league trophies by that stage, you know, European Cup Winners' Cup. I'd been around the block, you know, I was 13 years into my professional career. You know, I was a seasoned pro. I'd been captain at Arsenal for 9 years. So I think I knew what I was doing on the football pitch. I didn't know what I was doing off of it, but I knew what I was doing on it, and I focused in on helping Teddy, because if I knew I've got Teddy playing, if I knew I've got Incy playing, if I knew I've got the goalie, Dave Seaman, you know, if I knew that, and Terry's new system, if I knew that they knew it, and we had some super players there, Alan Shearer, you know, the great characters that didn't really need my input, but just now and again with maybe some external stuff. So yeah, and it's about inclusion.
But actually, you're talking about managing the team. There's Gaza. I mean, that's a different question of handling Gaza. The way Teddy said, you all were sort of supervising Gaza to some extent.
Yeah, I was wrapped up in self, and I think me and Gaz has always had a relationship. I tried to get him a few years ago, and I've enabled all the way for the last 20. At a certain point, he's crossed my path, and I've tried to drag him in. And I think it was those two guys that were extremely talented footballers, but two guys that probably off the pitch didn't know whether they were coming or going. And because of that, you know, I think there was a commonality, that there was an understanding, you know, and he just, I'd let him have his head, we always used to say, you know, let him have his cigar and his dressing gown, and we just, you know, just walk around the place and yeah, because we knew he was a fantastic talent and could do, I tolerated it, you know, if he hadn't delivered, then maybe Terry and myself may have intervened. Maybe we should have pulled him up around that period, and maybe we enabled him a little bit, but there's no doubt in the guy's talent, and he certainly was a exceptional professional around the Burnham Beaches where we stayed, the training ground.
So the Scotland game, you know, with your rose-coloured hindsight spectacles, you know, the tournament was a complete triumph and never in doubt, but sort of laboured slightly against Switzerland. And the first half against Scotland was tricky, wasn't it?
Yeah, they give it a go. I think you can't turn teams over straight away, maybe, and I think the talent, you know, came to the top eventually, and we took control of the game later on. I give a penalty away, for instance, so I give him a chance.
How was
my
that
grandfather must have been very pleased with me being a Scottish Banks. We won't mention that as England captain, will we? Or my great grandmother being German. We forget those two things. But this England captain felt very ashamed, and I just, the minute I did it, I kind of went, just a little bit of mistiming, go to ground too early, and all of a sudden they've got a penalty. But the goalie did me proud, and I went across and gave him a big kiss on his foot.
What about the Holland game then? What do you remember of that?
I don't think we were particularly great. We weren't good, don't get me wrong, when we played them off the pitch, but sometimes you look back, and I remember Dennis missing a couple of chances first half where the game could be completely different. But over and above that, I think that just the way that we created the goals, that we did have rotation, and the way that we constructed, and it was just my redemption, to be honest with you, from 88 and losing heavily, you know, a little young boy of 22 getting ridiculed, and it was just a little bit of a bit of revenge.
But that must have been emotional then.
It was really emotional. Personally, you know, looking back, I never felt anything at the time, so I suppressed it. Next game, next Spain. They're not doing nothing. But actually looking back, and I felt it, in recent years. Just a huge pleasure in playing that game, and a bit disappointed we didn't keep a clean sheet, and Clive ain't come on and scored. But there you go. We did play them off the pitch, and revenge.
So Spain. What were you feeling by then? Were you worried for Stuart Pearce? How on earth he'd come back for it if he hadn't scored that one?
You know what? I'm so self-obsessed. You know, I'm not into everybody else's stuff. Now everyone else from the outside may be looking at these monumental kind of stuff, but it's not my. It wasn't my. You know, I was so closed.
But bizarre. Exactly the opposite was also true. That's why they loved you. You were their leader. You were looking out for them all. I know what you're saying. You're self-absorbed, but yet
it was a way of dealing with what was going on. It was a way of dealing with what was going on, you know. And like I said, I've got a certain amount of tools, and how I was there, you know, shouting at them, and you know, and when it gets to penalties, don't forget, I looking back, and I've analysed it since. I did make some cracking tackles during that tournament. Oh my God, there is some real classics in there. This is either penalty or tackle of the century. I love that quote. I think it was a tackle of the century.
Okay, so you wrapped up in you wrapped. Go on.
I am, I'm wrapped up in myself, and and when you get to the penalty stage, I thought we played okay against Spain. We were lucky on one of the offsides. I had my arm up again, shouting at them. So I don't regret doing that because we got someone offside. And if it was VAR today, then maybe it might have been a goal. But there was monumental happenings during that tournament. And one of them was Stuart Pearce's redemption from 1990, getting up and smashing it and going to the fans. Hallelujah. And I'm so proud of Stuart because he totally deserves that.
So you wrapped up in yourself, but you were aware by then of what it meant to the country. Were you singing Three Lions, for example, and all that?
We were completely... I was completely isolated in that training camp, and the only vibes that we were getting was probably on the coach going. I was getting on the coach going down to playing the matches. We saw the streets were with England fans. Good luck, well done, type of stuff. And we were doing interviews like this, and you were telling me, my God, this is happening, this happening. We were doing interviews. That was the only kind of film we're going. Well, actually, we're practicing a bit of rotation today. And I'm watching a bit of TV with Teddy. I've got me flip-flops on, and I'm having a massage tonight. And I think that I always say this. I think the public had a better time than me.
So Germany, do you think we felt as if we could win that? Do you think at the absolute core, the heart of the team, did we still kind of think, the Germans will always find a way of beating us in the end?
I just remember Muller making the runs from midfield and Ince not going with them. And I more or less played, probably one of my best games I've ever played for England, that game. I played bloody well, and I think that's all you can do. I think that's all you can do in life.
So the Gaza 1/8 of an inch, the half a shoe size away from scoring, at that, what were your thoughts at that moment?
Because it's golden goal, isn't it? It's such a fine line between us just walking off the pitch. It's kind of goosebumps at the end. I still get goosebumps now. It's like, actually, if he just toes it a little bit more, I don't know what he did with it. If he'd just gone for it, we're walking down the tunnels into the finals. It's such a fine line, isn't it?
What do you remember of the penalties, apart from the ghastly end of it?
We had the 5, and we had them. Terry had them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm standing with Terry, and I'm ready. And Gareth comes over and said, "I'm going to take it," or words to that effect. I'm next, type of stuff. And I looked at Terry, and Terry looked at me and went, "Away you go."
So it could have been you.
Well, I think it was going to be me. I think it was a little bit, when you get to that stage, you've got 5, and then Terry's shipping around going, who fancies one? It's one of those kind of things. You think, well, you've done 5. So I was, I've taken 2 in my career, 2 out of 2, which is great. Although I'm not a good penalty taker, and I don't think defenders should take penalties anyway, because they're not used to it. If you don't get a chance to put the forwards in, I'd rather do that. But I was ready to take it, and Gareth was so positive. I just remember, don't know if it was true or not, but he's with me and Terry, and he's going, I want it, it's mine. He's going to take it, and boom, off he goes. And that's history. And to avoid feeling, I focus on other people. So I went straight up to Gareth, "Come on, son," and his visions of me kind of going, "Well, don't worry, son." That's the way I dealt with it.
But you're even portraying that act of kindness as a selfish act on your part.
Well, I don't think I actually kind of at any time wanted to acknowledge the pain. All my life I've been frightened to death of fear and pain and all that, and all of it was to avoid. So it was all external stuff. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to pat myself on the back here. I am quite a kind human being. But there might have been you know, and I'd done it throughout my career. If you know, I feel that's a part of the role of the captain to actually, okay, I'll go and break down later, but first and foremost, you're the captain of the team. You need to go and help this person. Okay. So I'm trying to be modest here, you know. But if I was modest, I'd only boast about it.
So suddenly it's all over. You said you'll break down later. You said once you've comforted Gareth and you've discharged your captain's duties, it's all over for England. And then what? How?
It's all over for me, mate.
Yeah. And how?
Straight
how
into
precipitous was your decline then? I mean, what happened?
There used to be a bar in the corner at Wembley, but it was a kind of, the guy used to give out tapes and for your stockings and stuff. But after the game, they had alcohol there, and he gave me a tst, and I won't name the brand, and I was away. That 6-week bender, and I'd done everything that I'd in the previous 12 years of drinking, you know, wee myself, blackouts, you know, things coming out the windows, you know, sordid places, you know. I didn't go back to work. I was supposed to have gone back to pre-season. I didn't go back. They were trying to fire me, the physio, the manager, Bruce Rioch again. I was due back on 7th of July. I didn't go back. I was getting smashed over there, and I got to the end, and I was 29 years of age, and apologies if you've heard all this before, but I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be here anymore. The pain was too much. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
So it wasn't Euro 96 that drove you over the edge. It was Euro 96, by the sound of it, delayed you getting to that. Correct. So you were going to get there, but it just gave you a kind of a swan song almost.
Maybe accelerated it a touch, but I needed the wife removed, the kids removed, the career removed. I needed everything gone, really. Dignity, self-respect, all of it. I needed it all gone. And I was 29 years of age, and I started to cry. And I started to cry, and I had just streams and streams of tears, and it was just, it was so wonderful. It was so wonderful.
But there must have been people thought you were crying. Was anybody saying to you, "Oh, this is Euro '96. You know, it's been too much."
Yeah, have another one. And what's wrong with you? And the insanity. My last drink was a pint of Guinness with a brandy in it. If I took brandy, I'd just spew it up. So I put it in the Guinness to keep it down. That's insanity. I can say that today, but I didn't at the time. Anyway, I've got that there, and it's sitting there. That's my last drink. And of course, for the 6-week bender, you know, I was getting pats on the back, but I got all my self-esteem through what I did, through football, and not who I was. And when that was removed, I didn't have no tools. After the Euros would finish, I didn't have no tools to keep me clean and sober. There was nothing there supporting me. So it all came out. It all came out, mate.
So looking back on it now, as a whole, Euro 96, what are your general thoughts? In a glittering career, you won everything. How precious is that month to you?
It's the tops. It's the tops. You know, it's... for two reasons. One, I kept in my country, you know, and I'm going to get teary here. You know, I'm a proud Englishman, and to lead your country out, there's not many people who've done that on home soil. And, you know, the great Bobby Moore did it, and I went down, we got that close. And I'll be forever grateful for that.
But it still hurts you, doesn't it? Yeah.
And personally, I had a significant shift in my emotional, mental, spiritual kind of experience that can completely change my life for the better.
So what you're looking at this group now, what they haven't got is a load of hardened skippers, right, like yourself. They've got plenty of talent, but there's no, you know, on the pitch, there's not a lot of adult supervision, is there? But apart from that, there's an awful lot to be hopeful for.
Well, they're a good group of players. I think there's sometimes, you know, the best individuals don't win tournaments. You know, sometimes that happens, and you need team spirit, and they definitely got that. I think there's loads of that, and if it comes from it's got to come from somewhere. I can see Gareth being, you know, he was part of the Euro '96, and maybe he would have taken some of that understanding into this tournament. I think it's valuable. Maybe I'd like someone else in the camp that had another experience of a major tournament. I did feel that way during the World Cup, that he was. I love Steve Holland. I think he's fantastic, but someone with maybe a wiser head, like we had Don Howe with Terry, may help him. It might not, but I thought just to create the right environment. So I'm all about environments, and they seem to have that. They've got an extreme talent. They've got some super players, you know, that are every bit as good as the Euro '96. And you know, technically, you know, look at the central defenders, and we've got a wash with them: Harry Maguire, John Stones. You know, all talented. Mings, you know, he's bigger than me. He's athletic. He's strong. You know, he's got better left foot than me. You know, we've got some extreme talent there. So. I'm really positive, and if you get that, what it sometimes comes down to tournaments is a bit of luck.